I will never get tired of saying that. Between your attention and any thought, emotion, or feeling, there is a gap. We're not aware of the existence of a gap, and as a result, awareness, you, and thoughts or feelings appear together. This is how we experience this slavery, daily slavery of being our thoughts and emotions uncontrollably. The key to inner freedom. Actually, what we're going to talk about is the foundation of all spiritual freedom, the most important key to becoming true masters. That's actually what mastery, self-mastery deeply means. And the amazing thing and the paradoxical thing is that at the same time, this key is utterly simple. It's so obvious, so taken for granted in our daily life, and it's just under our nose. Perhaps while I'm speaking about it, you might think, well, this is so obvious, this is so simplistic. And still, we mostly tend to overlook this kind of power. And this power is the power of our awareness. And I actually regard it as the greatest power in the universe, at least as far as you and I are concerned. What meditation is all about is reclaiming this power, bringing this power back to us, this lost power. Meditation is all about the discovery of awareness, the discovery of how to use awareness correctly. So let's talk about what awareness is. Because, again, it is the most obvious thing in the world, and still we are hardly aware of our awareness. Right now, at this very moment, you are not just alive, not just listening, you're also aware of your feelings, emotions, sensations, what you are receiving in this talk. And actually, your very existence, you're aware of all that. So, this kind of awareness consists of two elements. The first is attention. Attention. It's like the light of awareness, where I'm putting my awareness on, where the way I'm directing my awareness. That's attention. For instance, perhaps right now, hopefully, you are paying attention, you're directing your attention, the light of your awareness to this talk, to gain some insight. Then there is the second element, attention, and the second is choice. Choice means that you are making a choice at every single moment what you are going to pay attention to, where you are going to direct the light of your awareness. So that's basically awareness. It's a combination of attention and choice. So, for example, right now you could choose to pay attention to the mental chatter that may go on in your head. Or you may pay attention to whatever we are discussing right now. If you choose to pay attention to the mental chatter, to some passing thoughts, instantly your mental chatter will become meaningful. So the thing is that right now, what we call attention is almost completely conditioned, almost completely automatic. We've lost this sense of being aware of how we're directing our attention and what we are choosing to pay attention to. So that's what meditation is all about. It's the beginning of freeing our attention, bringing back the power of attention to us, reminding ourselves of this fact. Yes, it is I who pay attention. It is I who choose what I pay attention to. So through meditation, we can have this genuine feeling that we can freely decide what we want to do with our attention. So this is how we return to not only our inner freedom, but also a sense of true will, that we can actually, in a sense, have this kind of choice. That we're no longer automatic. So right now, for most people, the process of directing their attention is so automatic that they're not even conscious of it. It's just like breathing. We're not conscious of our breathing, but we're ideally supposed to be conscious of what we pay attention to, how we direct our attention. But what has happened? Here is awareness. Here is who you really are. And here is the stream of thoughts, feelings, sensations, experiences, memories. What has happened to us is that the attention and our awareness and all these, they have become one and the same. We're not aware of the gap. There is a certain gap in which we can make a conscious choice. This choice to pay attention to a thought, a feeling, a sensation, a memory, and identify with it, give it power. You see? So maybe intellectually we say, of course there is a choice. Of course there is a gap. Of course I'm not my thoughts. But this is not how we actually experience life in every given moment. So we experience many types of thoughts and feelings. These can be sexual fantasies or fears or anything else. And because we no longer have this gap, we no longer make the choice, we no longer remember that we have a choice, we believe these thoughts and feelings and memories are just too powerful, too overwhelming to overcome. So if there is a certain thought or emotion taking over us, we feel powerless because we don't remember that we have the power of attention. We may even say things like, this thought gives me no rest, or this desire ruins my life, or what can I do when anger takes over? I'm just helpless. I just become blinded by my anger. So we experience being taken over by emotional storms, panic attacks, destructive thoughts. But think about it for a moment. What does it mean for a desire to ruin your life? How can the desire do anything to you? Does it force itself on you? Why do we speak of these things as if we have absolutely no choice? Isn't that a good question? So here is awareness, and which is you. And here are all the other things you're aware of. Now, what would happen if you were aware of this choice, of this gap, and could therefore consciously choose? That would give you the greatest power in the universe, because nothing, no inner force, no energy could ever take over you again. Do you see? That's the key to Buddhahood. That's actually the essence of the term Buddha. Buddha in actuality means becoming master of your own attention. Being able to direct, to master, to guide your attention, to guide the light of your awareness. And the Buddha always remembers that attention is stronger than any thought or feeling, because it exists independently from it. And we have the choice. So a Buddha is one who is able to control this chain reaction that follows the choice of giving attention to something, a certain thought, a certain emotion. So here is what we are starting to learn. I call it the law of attention. And the law of attention has actually four principles. And the first and most foundational is between your thought, between your attention. I will never get tired of saying that. Between your attention and any thought, emotion, or feeling, there is a gap. We're not aware of the existence of a gap, and as a result, awareness, you, and thoughts or feelings appear together. This is how we experience this slavery, daily slavery of being our thoughts and emotions uncontrollably. And how have we reached this kind of mental and emotional slavery? This is because at a certain point in the past, when we still had a choice, but were unaware of our choice, we made a decision. We directed our attention to certain internal forces, and we chose to trust them. We chose to adopt them, to identify with them. Now, here's the point. Attention, your attention, is like the food that mental and emotional entities, self-destructive thoughts, fears require. So you give them the food. It's like attention, your attention shines on something, on a certain thought, a certain emotion. That something instantly becomes a reality. It is actually empowered by your attention. And that's the second principle of the law of attention. Whatever attention focuses on becomes a reality. This means that things are not real unless you focus on them, unless you decide to accept them as a part of yourself, as a part of your reality. So if attention looks at these things and is not convinced of their reality, what happens? These energies disappear for the simple reason that they can no longer feed on your attention. They have no food, no energy, they're powerless, they have no power over you, they live. So, on the other hand, when we turn our attention to a thought, emotion, or a certain interpretation of reality, it immediately appears to be our reality. And then we begin to feel physically, mentally, emotionally, and energetically according to the reality we created through our attention. So think of this thought. The thought is passing in my inner sky, and the thought says, I hate myself. Now, if I remember that there is a gap, and that in this gap there is a choice, I can choose not to give this thought attention, and then it has no power. But most people actually believe this kind of thought. They adopt it, they internalize it, and then this thought, I hate myself, becomes like a toxin that infiltrates the body and begins to contaminate our inner experience, the way we experience ourselves. So we make thoughts our reality. They're not a reality, but when we make thoughts our reality, we begin to respond to them and to feel according to our response. And this leads us to an even deeper principle of the law of attention. Whatever your attention identifies with, remember, this is the stream. Whatever your attention identifies with says, this is me, this is who I am, this is my reality, it becomes. So everything we think we are, our personalities, our patterns, our thoughts, our memories, our traumas, our tendencies, is in reality something that we've consistently focused on, identified with, and eventually become. So this is a very important learning, I think, to be honest, this is what we should have learned at school when we were children. Instead, we were learning math and whatever. So, but it's never too late. Here is the principle. And when you detect a thought or emotion, or an emotion, even right now, I don't know what emotions or thoughts you were carrying with you just before our talk began. So whenever you detect a thought or an emotion, start experiencing the gap. Even a split of a second of a gap, even a tiny little gap, is more than enough to realize there is a distance. This is not instantly, automatically what I have to identify with, what I have to give power to. Then ask yourself, what would happen if I identified and embraced this thought or feeling? What would I feel right now if I identified with it? What would my body feel like? Imagine what it would feel like if this became your reality. And then, after realizing what it would feel like, feel that you can choose whether or not to focus your attention on it to a degree that it becomes a reality. So, what is suffering? When do we begin to suffer? We don't suffer because of thoughts, feelings, emotions, memories, traumas. We suffer when we react to these thoughts, emotions, memories. Because they are there, just like clouds, and it is our choice whether to as the sky, to identify with this passing cloud. Now, so this means something really immense. And this is why it is inner freedom, why it is total freedom. It is not that we need to control these thoughts or feelings or emotions. We don't need to control our fears, our desires. We don't need to make them go away. The only thing we need to master, to direct, is our attention. Because attention means owning your own mind. That's all we need to do. So this is exactly what meditation is all about. Meditation teaches us that our attention is separate from all thoughts and feelings. It's like we're discovering the freedom of awareness itself. Oh, we are first of all awareness. That's our nature. We're just aware there is a gap, there is a choice. And guess what? Here is the fourth principle of the law of attention. We don't always have to focus on certain thoughts, emotions, memories, and identify with them. We can sometimes in meditation take a break from this process of attention and choice, attention and choice. And we can be just fully attentive, but not attentive toward anything in particular, you see? And the result is that attention becomes like a concentrated energy. It's like an awake presence. You're fully there, fully aware. but you're just that light of awareness resting, open, without focus, without limit. So these are the 4 principles, and when you really begin to explore them practically, you tap into a magnificent reality. Because the power of your awareness shows you that in a sense, you are already free. Why are you already free right now? This is because there is already, right now, an inherent separation between, shall I show it again? Between attention and everything you have ever identified with. There is a separation, there is a gap. You're not your thoughts, you're not your feelings, emotions, memories, past, circumstances. What you are at the core of your being is pure awareness. So all your past conflicts, all your stories are just things that you have decided to attach your attention to once and then twice and so forth. But the two have become so glued to one another that they now appear to be inseparable. And that's where we feel as if we're in bondage. So this is the key. And its importance cannot be overstated, because if you understand the law of attention deeply enough, that means you can be free from suffering. There is no longer any need or any reason for suffering, because suffering is exactly this kind of helplessness, being caught in some seemingly overpowering thought, emotion, memory, fear, fantasy, whatever. So you can be free from suffering, and only you can free yourself from suffering using the power of your awareness. So this is what we do in a retreat, and what we can permit ourselves to discover in every meditation, but not only in meditation, also in real life, while experiencing life, experiencing thoughts, experiencing feelings.